Going to run through a brief agenda. Today's session is going to be presented by Tony Stillman. I'm Oliver Burr, I'm one of the sales execs at eBECS, and we've got Lisa Marie available as well this afternoon. There's quite a number of people attending the session, so if you've got any questions as we're going through, please feel free to put them in the questions tab, and we'll try and answer them as we're going along, or alternatively we'll save time towards the end to answer any specific questions. So in terms of agenda, I'm just going to start off by just giving you guys a brief overview of who eBECS are. We're then going to look at Microsoft Dynamics AX, an overview of Microsoft Dynamics AX. Then more specifically, how it can help accountancy and consultancy firms. We're then going to dive into the actual core software presentation, summary and next steps, and then obviously any Q&A towards the end of the session. So in terms of who eBECS are, so people who don't know eBECS, we're actually a Microsoft partner. We're head officed in Chesterfield. We've got an office in Swindon and an office down in London as well. Across the sea, across the Atlantic in America, we've got an office in Atlanta, and we've got two offices out of Jordan and Saudi Arabia. The business has got currently 270 plus employees. We've got over 300 customers using Dynamics products, ranging from companies that turn over $1 million right up to multiple of billions of pounds, from simple 5 to 10 user systems right up to the biggest system we've got, which is a 30,000 user AX system globally. The business was founded back in 1999 by the original 4 owners, so it's privately owned and managed, which what it means for you guys is our customers can have access right up to the top personnel at eBECS. We're 100% Microsoft focused, so all our research and development goes back and is pumped back into the Microsoft portfolio of products. This year we've turned over around 30 million. We're forecasted to turn over 50 million in the next 2 years, and since day one the business has been constantly profitable. I'll pass you over to Tony, who's now going to give you guys an overview of the different solutions that we can offer accounting and consulting firms.
Okay, thanks, Ollie. Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can all hear me. So I'm going to take you through this afternoon the eBECS solutions, as Ollie said, for accounting and consulting. And at the heart of the eBECS solution is the Microsoft Dynamics 365 product portfolio. That includes things such as CRM and ERP. It also includes some data analytics, Power BI, these are all Microsoft technologies, as well as things like Internet of Things, which is a term that's used today to describe connected devices, sensors and applications all around the world. So for the rest of this afternoon, we're going to concentrate on the ERP side of Dynamics 365, and we're going to look at a product called Microsoft Dynamics AX. So what is Microsoft Dynamics AX? Well, actually the product has been around for a good number of years. In fact, it was first released in 1998, and if you track the history of the product, it goes back beyond that date as well. The version you'll see today is version 7, and it is the first release of Dynamics AX that is 100% cloud enabled. So it's hosted in the Microsoft Azure platform up in the cloud, which makes it very portable. It makes it a really mobile solution, and for the first time kind of in the product's history, you can now take your ERP system out, kind of in your briefcase or in your pocket. Today, the solution is a global solution. It's available in 36 country localizations. So what does that mean? It means that AX has all the functionality that is required, normally from a financial perspective, but there are others, so it has all the functionality required from a financial, tax, fiscal, legislative point of view in 36 countries around the world. And actually, if you go onto Microsoft.com, you can get the complete list. It's also available in 38 different languages as well. It's a multi-company, hence the global nature of the product, multi-company, multi-currency application as well. So for everybody in the accounting and consultancy type businesses, what does Dynamics AX offer? Well, there are a few more boxes than this. This is kind of really only half the solution. But these are the ones that are most relevant to businesses like yourselves. So we start off in the top left-hand corner. So we've got finance, and finance is really at the heart of what Dynamics AX is all about. So we've got general ledger, sales ledgers, and purchase ledgers, all the things you would typically expect a finance solution to have. We have intercompany trading, fixed assets, and we have some dedicated management reporting tools as well. Then we look into kind of along the top row, we go to procurement and sourcing. So Dynamics AX has a full purchase requisitioning, request for quotation solution. We can manage open and sealed bids. There's supplier management. We can do commitment accounting, and so on and so on and so on. The heart of what we're going to show you today is really the top right box, which is kind of project management. So we have all the things you might expect, such as project accounting, revenue recognition, the ability to plan and schedule resources, so Microsoft project style functionality actually embedded within the solution, and then a whole bunch of reporting and contract management functionality. In addition to that, that's really kind of the core of the solution. In addition to that, we've got the ability then for users to do timesheet and timesheet entry and approval, expenses, claims management and approval, expense rules and policies, so the ability to put into your business applications the rules that you have around kind of expenses and timesheets. Dynamics AX also has a full HR solution, so in there we can manage our billable resources, we can manage our admin resources, we can do things such as succession planning, jobs and positions management, and so on. And then finally we've got the reporting and business intelligence layer that goes right across actually Dynamics AX, and we'll cover some of this today, but it's things like Workspaces, which are not going to mean a huge amount to you right now, but hopefully will do in 5 minutes or so. Right the way through the Power BI business intelligence platform, we've got some dedicated financial reporting tools, as I said earlier on. The ability to get dashboards on mobile devices. So Dynamics AX is, as I said before, it's now a cloud-based ERP solution. It's based on the Microsoft Azure platform. So it supports kind of the common technologies and hardware platforms that people expect today. So your iPad and your Microsoft Surface, your Android tablets, as well as maybe some of the more traditional ways that people access their business solutions, which is through a laptop computer or a desktop. Okay, so that's a little bit about Dynamics AX, and I think the best thing we can do now is maybe move on and have a look at the solution. So we've only got a short, probably about 20-25 minutes overview of Dynamics AX. It's just a really quick review of what the solution is capable of today. So let's start with Workspaces. I mentioned these a little bit earlier on. So what is a workspace? Well, I'm going to show you one in a second, but it's really the place in Dynamics AX where a user will spend their working day. They can see key pieces of information about the job that they do. So these can be kind of live tiles. We can also see graphs, charts, and lists of data. So again, we'll come on to that in a while. But really what we're trying to do is allow users to see what's important that they need to deal with today, right now, and what else is there that maybe they need to get around to, but that can wait a little bit later on. You can also see your workload, so AX will, and other people in your organization will give you tasks. That could be an approval, it could be an expense claim that needs kind of posting or whatever it is, and you'll get tasks given to you, so they're available in your workspaces, and really you can monitor performance and monitor where you are in your day-to-day job. So let's go and take a look at Dynamics AX. As they say, a picture paints 1,000 words. So here I am, and what you can see here is the top level dashboard. Now, kind of a word of advice that I am logged in today as an administrator, so I get everything. You can see here all the functionality that's available to me, everything from kind of manager self-service, so I can drill in, and you can see in the manager self-service workspace here that I can see the members of my team. I can see the positions that they hold. I can see their birthdays. I can see the years they've been in the positions, and so on. So that's the concept behind a workspace. Typically, a user in a normal AX working environment would maybe have one or possibly two of these workspaces. Kind of not really any more than that. They should be able to do everything they need to from within a workspace. Okay, so let's go and look at a project workspace. That's kind of why we're here today. So here you can see that I've got 7 expense reports I need to kind of manage, so I can just do a click on that and it drills down, and I can see I've got some rejected ones, some here that are in review. I've got some draft ones that I'm still working on, and I've got some that are kind of been and gone, and these are historical, and I'm waiting for payment of those expenses. Again, to get back up, I just close the screen down. Here I've got the projects that I'm working on, so I've got a nice list of all the projects, and I can just click down, and when I click down, I get some detail on the project. If I want to go down a level further, I can go down even further down into the project itself, and I can see lots and lots of detail around kind of scheduling and project managers and so on. Some other things I might want to do is I might want to look at the work breakdown structure. So here you can see I've got a work breakdown structure, and I can just expand that out. So this is kind of Microsoft project style view of the work, and I've got effort and duration and so on. So that's kind of where the user would use their workspace, and there are some links here. So if I want to go and look at all the projects in the company, so long as I've got permissions to do that, I can click the link here. If I want to go and look at resource capacity and resource availability, again, as long as I've got the permissions, I can go off and look at that here. Now, the other thing we can do that's really quite nice is the ability to leverage other Azure services, and one of those is a technology called Power BI. So actually within my workspace here, what I'm able to do is just click the link and go off to Azure now, and I can pull back all the key performance indicators and metrics that I have stored in my Power BI environment. So if I just scroll down the list, eventually we'll come to the project dashboard, and I can select my project dashboard, and what will happen is now I'll get the content related purely to kind of the projects, and then I can click these individually, and I'll just wait for the system to catch up with me. There you go. So I can now click these individually here and just press OK, and what happens now is those tiles, those graphs, are now taken and put into my workspace. So as a user, these are the common things I might look at, and these are all live or kind of near real time. So they're not sort of screenshots or anything else. They are actually drillable, clickable content that I can play around with. Okay. So that's the workspace. The concept is, you know, if I'm a project manager, I spend my time in the project's overview. If I'm working in, I don't know, maybe kind of on the billing side, I might stay in the customer invoicing side of life. If I'm HR, I might look at the workforce management. And that's typically how AX works together. Okay. So that's a little bit about the workspaces and how users can be a little bit more productive in their day-to-day life just by filtering out the things they don't need to see and concentrating on the things that they do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually go and use Dynamics AX in anger, and I'm going to show you a very quick run-through of a day in the life of maybe a project manager or a consultant or something. So we're going to create a new project. We are then going to add in a simple work breakdown structure. We're going to look at how we can schedule resources and assign them to my work breakdown structure. We are going to complete a timesheet. We will complete an expense claim. We'll post all of those, and then we'll invoice the customer. We'll look at some of the options around invoicing, and then finally we will look at how all that has impacted our project. So let's just pull AX back up. So here I am, slightly different environment. You can see actually down the bottom here, I've got kind of Internet Explorer here, I've got Firefox, I've got Google Chrome. So all these solutions I can use to access this same application. So again, cross-browser support. So here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to click down into my project's overview workspace, and you can see now I've got some slightly different metrics. I'm in a different company here. Okay, and again, I've got things like timesheets and expenses. I've got some links and so on. So the first thing I'm going to do maybe is go and look at these 20 live projects that I've got. So I click the link, and it takes me down into Dynamics AX. So the first thing I want to do is create my project. So here we go. I've got the ability to use several different types of project. For today, we're just going to keep a simple time and materials project. And I'm going to say this is the City Manufacturing Company. Okay, so and it's going to be our accounting assistants. Okay, so that's the project name, and this is now going to be how do we want this project to work inside X? Do we want to start accruing for WIP and so on? Well, actually, no. I'm going to say in this case we don't. It's just going to be a fairly simple project, and we're going to pick a contract. So I've already got some contracts set up in my system. You can see here I've got City Manufacturing. If I don't want to use that, I can go and add a new contract in here, but I'm just going to use an existing one, and we're just going to tap this contract onto one of the this project onto one of the other contracts that we already have, and that's kind of all I need to do. So I can go off and create my project, and AX will do that for me. It's going to go off and create me the project. It's going to start to pull in all the time material bits and pieces. It's going to sort out all the postings and so on, do all the mappings back to my general ledger, and give me a project that I can now play around with. So here we are. I've got my project in here. Okay, there's a few things that I can do in here. I've got a resource calendar, so this is my standard kind of 8 till 4:30 type calendar here, but I can have different calendars, different time zones and so on. So the first thing to do is go and create a work breakdown structure. So I'm just going to come in here, and here you can see I've got the ability to kind of export and import. So I'm just going to create take a work breakdown structure that we've already created. So here I've got my accounting one, and I'm just going to press OK, and that's just going to copy all of that work breakdown from a template and put it into my existing project. So no need to go off and kind of create everything from scratch here. We can reuse what we've already done. Once I'm happy with it, I can amend, I can change these things, I can increase duration, increase effort, and so on in my work breakdown structures. I can look at so this is very much about days. I can go in here and look at kind of revenue, see what sort of revenue that's going to give me, and it'll just take a second to calculate all that out for me. And I can get now again a view of kind of revenue of each stage and phase in my projects. You can see here I've got total cost and total revenue, and we can put margin, kind of gross margin on the screen. So that's it. That's my project done. I can now put this project into live. So I just drop this down. I select in process here. So I'm skipping a few steps. I just put this project into in process, and then it becomes available for people to bill kind of time and expense against. So if I just come back to the little PowerPoint slide we got. So I've created a new project. I've created the work breakdown structure. We've had a quick look at the costs. Now I'm going to go off and schedule some resources. So again, if I go back into Dynamics AX, I can just do a quick refresh on here. Okay, and there's my new project at the bottom. So I can go in, I can have a look at that project. And the next thing I might want to do is look at that work breakdown structure and start to do something called task planning. So down here I've got my work breakdown structure. You can see I've got a little marker in here that tells me kind of where we are in time, and the system is going to just pull in that work breakdown structure for me. Let me just have a quick check here, a quick refresh. One second. Okay, so I just need to publish my work breakdown structure, and then I'm good to go. So now if I go back into task planning, then I can go in and I should hopefully now get my work breakdown structure. So you can see I've got tasks coming down here. This is only going out until October, so I could put it out to maybe the end of December. We get a few more tasks coming in. Again, if I just do a refresh here, we're kind of good to go. So I can see now the work breakdown structures, and if I want to, I can start to do things like edit the plans. So I can select these tasks, and I can now move them in time to get all my tasks lined up the way I want it to. At the minute, it's done by date, and then when I'm happy with that, I can publish that out and save that as my current schedule. Okay, so if I just come out of this, all the way out, here's one I prepared earlier in all the kind of finest presentation styles. I've got task planning in here, and you can see this one I've got a little bit more built into it, so I'm just going to go out maybe to the end of January. I'm going to do a refresh. So I've got links and precedences and so on set up in this work breakdown structure, so I've done a little bit more work in here. Project has started, so project management, you can see there's a little black bar across the top. That means that task is now complete. And the other thing I can do is I can look at baseline. So I can come in here, I can pick the last published baseline, and then if I do a refresh, I tend to now get tasks put on side by side. So this is the tasks coming down. This task here was this one here was this, and so on. As I scroll left and right, we get tasks. So the ability for me to schedule resources coming into my projects, again, I can do this kind of on a tablet. I can do this on an iPad type device or a Surface or kind of a normal standard Windows environment. Okay, so we've done our, so let me just drop this down again. So we've done our scheduling of the resources. We can now go off and create a timesheet. So again, if I go back into Dynamics AX, I can go back into my project work space, and down here now I've got the option to do timesheets. So I can come along, and here I've got a timesheet. Now I can define the periods that I use my timesheets. Mine is weekly, starting on a Friday. So Friday is actually the first day of the week for me in this timesheet. And if I just go into edit mode here, then I can put in a new line. So I can come down here, I can select kind of my project. So I can go all the way down the bottom of my project list, and there's the project that we just created. Okay, so I can come down here, I can pick an activity in that project. So I can say in this case it's going to be project management, and then I can say I spent 8 hours on Tuesday, 8 hours on Wednesday, and that is all billable back to the end customer. Okay, once I'm happy with that, I can set that off, save it, and process that out to workflow ready for approval. Okay, so we set that out. That goes off into the wider business, and will be approved based on the rules that we define in our timesheet approvals. Now that could be the project manager gets first approval, or it could be my line manager, or it could be a combination of both. So those sheets will go off to the appropriate place and sit there waiting for approval in the system. Okay, so if I just do a quick refresh on that, eventually it will come back. You can see it's now gone to in review. So we're just waiting for that to be processed around the business. And when I drop these down, you can see I can recall it. If I did make a mistake, I can recall it. I can look at who is the next approver in the process, and so on. So that's the timesheets done. We can also do the same on expenses. So on my expense report here, I can come in and I can now start to add expenses into the system. So I'm going to create myself an expense. So let's say I'm going to claim for a meal, which is a very nice meal. And I'll say that was on the 15th of September, and the meal was, in this case, the project or the company I'm in is in US dollars, so I'm going to say it's for $30 US. If it's a foreign currency transaction, I can just change the currency here, and the system will look at the prevailing exchange rates and so on. I can say this is billable back to the customer. It may not always be billable back to the customer, so I can say in this case it is, and then I can select the project be billed against. So I'm going to pick my my manufacturing, my accounting project, and down here then I'm going to select this project management task as the task it was added against. I can add more and more, so as I come down here I can do a hotel bill, so we can go in, and in this case I'm going to say again it was on the 15th here, and the transaction amount this time was $200 US, and now I've got the option to itemize my my hotel bill. Okay, so down here I can see that it's kind of $200, so I can say it was maybe $100 on the Thursday and $100 for the night on the Friday, and that would then be that transaction reconciled. But maybe it's only $90 for the room rate, and I've got some hotel telephone bills, I've got a bar bill, and so on. Okay, so that would be that one done, and then I can come back to my thing, and that's completely itemized, and then I can add the next expense and the next expense. Again, all I do here, I need to select my project, so again I will go in, I'll select the project that this is going to get billed back to, optionally the activity number, which is this one, and then I can just process that one out to workflow. So I submit that out. Again, I've got the option to put in comments if I want to, but I'm going to submit that out to workflow. And that one goes off and will get approved as well later on. So let's just go back to kind of where we were, so back to the PowerPoint. So I've completed a timesheet, I've claimed the expenses, now it's time to bill the customer. So I come back into Dynamics AX. So for this one I'm just going to use a slightly different project, just in the interest of time. So I'm going to go back to my sporting goods, and in this one what I can do is I can go and look in the manage section. I can go and look at pending and posted transactions. So there might be some pending transactions for timesheets and so on that might appear in here. Okay, if there's posted transactions, so things that have already been approved, then you can see that they start to come in here. So I've got some hours and expense coming into my my project here. So AX is really going along and hoovering up everything that's been posted against that project and deciding what's billable back to the customer and what's not. So simply I create an invoice proposal. There's the same transactions, and I might say, you know what, this one and this one I'm not going to invoice, and actually that expense I'm not going to invoice back to the customer this time. I just do OK, and that creates me now an invoice proposal that I can send out to my customer. Next time I come along, those 3 transactions I've taken off, they would reappear because they're still outstanding, and it'd be up to project manager to go in and write those expenses off if we're never going to invoice the customer for that. Okay, so that's that one. That will create me the invoice, and I can then workflow that around the business and get that approved. So that's that one done.
Tony, just a quick question's just come through.
Yeah.
Is line property, I think it's related to a field, options customer configurable or hardwired?
No, it's all customer configurable. So those are, you know, typically on a timesheet you might say that the line property could be at an overtime rate. So it may be that that particular task was performed on a weekend or a bank holiday, and you may bill the customer extra for that, or maybe you've got to pay the employee extra for that. So the line property controls who pays and what the rate is, and it could be an overtime rate that is an additional cost or something different. So all completely customizable by the customer.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, so finally we've billed the customer, and now we can go back to our report. And if I just go back to this one that we were looking at a little second ago, if I go to control, what I can now do is start to look at the profitability of this project. So I'm just going to do a quick calculate in here. This is only single level. We can go down to multi-level sub-projects and so on. So I've not got any revenue coming in. That invoice proposal is still exactly that. It's a proposal at the minute. It's not gone out. So we've not got the revenue in for that, so it's not showing here just yet. But you can see I've got a meal expense here, and I've got some hours and so on. And if I go to the profit and loss now, I get a little bit more of a breakdown. Again, these costs and revenues will populate as the project goes on and on. I can look at what's been costed to WIP, and so on and so on and so on. So this is where you come to start to get an understanding of where your project is. And if I want to look at maybe, I've got a query about that 20 US dollars expense there, I can come in and say, okay, it is an expense. I just want to go see what that transaction is. And it tells me here that it's a meal and it's billable back to the customer, and so on and so on. Okay, so nice and easy to understand what's going on in your project. So the final thing I want to show you, just on the project reporting, is if I go back to a project and I go to the planning side, if I go to my work breakdown structure, now clearly this is looking at the kind of cost overruns and so on. I've got the ability to use these things called tracking views. And tracking views just allow me to understand where my project is. So if we look at this line here, I've got the project management task, and the original cost for that is 8,000 US dollars, and we've currently billed 7,220, which gives me a 780 US dollars to be costed. Now it could be that's closed, in which case I can close that task off and say that that is complete, or it may be that there's work outstanding. The other thing I could do is look at the effort. So that was pounds and pence, if you like, and this is now effort. So it tells me there's no more effort there. But as a project manager, I could come in and say, do you know what, actually I know there's another 10 hours worth of effort to go in, and now you can see I'm starting to get some visual indicators to say this project is likely to overrun. And if I go back to the cost tracking now, it's starting to give me what the likely cost overrun of that project is. So it's 2,000 US dollars is going to be my anticipated final cost overrun for where we are today. Okay, so that's how the project side of Dynamics AX works. So to try and summarize all of that, I think the one thing that that is really fantastic now is the ability for people to access the business solution, the project management solution, the project accounting solution on any device, kind of anywhere in the world. Okay, so it will work on most devices. We don't tend to recommend doing it on things like iPhones and Windows phones, and unless you've got the kind of the ones with the slightly bigger screens, because it doesn't doing your Gantt charts on an iPhone is probably a challenge for anybody. But nevertheless, we can go off and we can do these things remotely from the office, take the ERP system with us. All we need is an internet connection, real-time access to analytics. We've got the Workspaces, we've got the Power BI application, which is now delivering us near real-time information. So those graphs and charts are kind of accurate to kind of 5 to 15 minutes now. There's no more overnight processing. The ability to use the project resource planning to book resources and to properly manage your resources across multiple projects, not just the project you're looking at, so it takes into account resource bookings elsewhere in my ERP system. And then the project reporting and tracking allows me to understand where cost overruns and what the likely profit is on my project. Workflow solutions cover off kind of approval paths and really automate the business processes, so we can build in those rules and automate those business processes. And finally, the big feedback we get from our customers is that the user interface is just fantastic, because people are familiar with that whole internet experience now, whether it's buying your groceries online, booking a holiday, or catching up with the latest news headlines. People are comfortable using a web browser today, and kind of, we haven't seen it today, but deep integration with Office and the Office 365 platform. So just to finish off, what are the next steps? We are actually running, we call them masterclasses in November. It's in our Swindon office, and it's a deep dive, so it's more detail on where we are today. It's more workshop style. There is free attendance. The registration form will be going live in the next few days, so just go to ebecs.com/events, and if you're interested in that, it is a free attendance masterclass, so please register and come join us and we can get to some deep dive. If you want more Dynamics AX webinar content, again, if you visit ebecs.com/events, you can get webinar pre-recorded webinars up there. This one will be posted up there in the coming days. If you'd like a one-to-one conversation, then I suggest actually if you just email Lisa Clegg, so it's lclegg@ebecs.com, and she will arrange to be in contact, and you can maybe come visit us, or we can come and visit you and understand a little bit more about what you're after. So that's it from me. I think I'll hand back to Ollie and see if we've got any questions.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tony. We have got another question that's come through. Can corporate credit card statements be imported for validation by individual users and approval within the expenses?
Yes, yes. So we that's part of the standard functionality. So actually, when I go into an expense claim, if I do have a corporate credit card assigned to me, it will automatically display the unreconciled expenses, which I can then select and copy into my expense claim form. So yeah, the answer to that one is yes.
Thanks, Tony. There's no other questions at the minute. Yeah, I think today's session was obviously giving you guys a high-level overview. In reference to the next steps, I think it will be brilliant to do these one-to-one sessions. Every company works slightly differently. So I'd just like to thank everyone for their time this afternoon, and we look forward to hopefully progress things in the future. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you.